So one of the things we always said about Brexit was it would bring to the UK a lot of unintended consequences, things that we just couldn't predict, or stuff that, well, we could predict and would say, look, if you do this, this is going to happen. So what's your solution for maybe solving this problem? And of course, the response came back, well, that's just Project Fear. And certainly in the case of Northern Ireland that we've seen, the potential for a lot of blackouts because the Tories are so desperate to try and remove the European Court of Justice from the Northern Ireland Protocol that means that Northern Ireland could just be removed from a ton of different stuff, like the common energy policy that it has with Ireland, meaning that we could have rolling blackouts. And there is serious government policy to try and basically have floating diesel generators to try and make sure that there is enough power in Northern Ireland. So there's a potential for blackouts over there. And that's one thing. But the other thing, of course, that was always said was, look, Brexit is going to make our economy a lot more fragile. And certainly in a lot of other sectors, they are going to have a lot of problems because of Brexit, and you put another crisis on it, it just puts the foot on the accelerator and makes these problems even worse. And this is one such case because we need food, especially things like salad grown throughout the year. Most of your salad prior to the EU comes mainly from Spain, mainly the south of France. But if you want to grow salad any other time, then you've got to rely on greenhouses. And of course, greenhouses use a lot of energy. And what we got here, case of Brexit, energy prices, foot accelerator, boom, essentially here. So we are looking at potentially the death of an entire industry because of Brexit here, which is very, very worrying for a lot of farmers. So before we go diving into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and our donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all the people who do help and support the channel that way. So on we go with this story coming from the East Anglia Bylines with the title of Brexit and Energy Costs Threaten Death of the Greenhouse Industry. Dotted around the Lee Valley area of Essex and Hertfordshire is a little known but well-established food industry. Many hectares of greenhouse growers, aubergines, shall we say, tomatoes, tomato, whatever, cucumbers and peppers, all for the UK market, and may grow up to 80 growers are of back to Italian descent. In the 1950s, the government recruited workers from Sicily to work the market gardening, and many settled down in Housden, in Bornix, and of their descendants, they now own the vegetable growing businesses here. Back then, there were 480 growers. Now, there are just 80. These days, modern farming techniques have increased the yield. The growing season now lasts from planting seeds in January to the final harvest before Christmas. Beehives are kept inside the glass houses, and bees go about pollinating the vegetable plants without bothering the workers. Of course, to grow salad crops requires warmth, and the glass houses must be heated to about 20 degrees, and this takes a huge amount of energy, usually gas. The Lee Valley Growers Association represents and supports over 80 growers. I talked to its secretary, Lee Stills, who points that the produce is healthy food grown to high standards with low food miles. This supports the government policies for a healthy diet and sustainability. But the government does not support the growers in return. They have to plan many months ahead, and Lee Stills points to the two main factors currently hampering this. Energy prices. With a huge rise in gas prices this year, some growers who had their energy bills of over £100,000 are afraid that their bills could increase to more than £1 million. In a business with no government subsidies and very tight margins, growers can make over £50,000 in a good year, or break even, or even make a loss. Therefore, these extra fuel costs of the size are just unsustainable. Some growers have decided to delay planting till later in the year so they don't have to heat the greenhouses in the cold winter months. Planting in April instead of January means that perhaps the 2 annual harvests instead of 3, leading to less produce and less profit. The government has only promised a 6 months energy support scheme due to review in April of next year, and growers are doubtful that it will even continue after that. So their fuel costs next year may very well be prohibitive, but they don't know until next spring. And as we've said this before, farmers need knowledge of what's coming. They need to know down the road what's going to happen so that they can plan for this. And obviously, the government with this and in the energy prices and the helping of this is not very helpful. So, more post Brexit problems. It's never been easy to hire UK workers. Since the 1950s, the number of locals taking on work has been tiny. Before Brexit, 95% of the pickers were from the EU, latterly Eastern Europe. These EU workers could stay as long as they liked, but now EU nationals must obtain work visas, and the government's new 6-month visa doesn't suit the glasshouse industry. Where harvesting lasts longer, it means losing your first set of pickers in the summer and having to train up a new fresh set for the second half of the season. And by the way, I am surprised no one in the government has yet to thought for all these asylum seekers, why not give them work visas? Why not put them to work? We're having this massive labor shortage. Why not put all these asylum seekers to work in these industries that are having these chronic labor shortages? Why has no one thought of that yet? But anyway, additionally, when the pound dropped in value after Brexit, the UK stopped being an attractive proposition for EU nationals. They are free to work in other EU countries and can make more money there. Last year, 95% of the Lee Valley labour came from Russia and Ukraine, clearly no longer possible. This year, they've had to bring people in from as far as Nepal and Kazakhstan. Brexit has also sometimes led to import issues. At the start of the season, many growers import thousands of vegetable seedlings from lorries from the Netherlands. Sometimes these port delays because of important paperwork is now so complex. Delays can adversely affect the plant's condition and leave greenhouse staff with nothing to do as they sit to wait to plant them out. So, what does this mean for the future? Around now, the growers need to be planning for their 2023 season, ordering the seeds, buying equipment, hiring staff, and making arrangements with supermarkets. In the current situation, it's impossible to predict with certainty whether they will be able to afford their heating bills or get enough staff. Also, supermarkets are trying to negotiate lower prices to keep costs lower for customers. In the face of these difficulties, several growers have given up altogether. In the last 2 years, over 20 growers have quit, and greenhouses and land have been sold off for other uses, like the light industry. Planting permission has been granted for some plots to become residential housing estates. Without UK growers, supermarkets will have to buy from the Netherlands, Spain, and Morocco. Like the UK, the Netherlands can't produce during colder months, but Spain and Morocco can. And of course, it's a 4-day lorry ride from there, so vegetables are not fresh on arrival, and the journey is hardly environmentally sustainable. EU growers benefit from the agricultural subsidies and, of course, free movement of labour, making it hard now for the Lee Valley growers to actually compete. And Lee Stiles say that a more helpful government policies on worker visas and energy cost support, despite the pandemic, growers felt valued and essential. Now they don't. Despite being a very crucial building to Britain's food security, sadly without help, historic UK food production centres could just wither on the vine. And this isn't surprising, but it's an unfortunate consequence of Brexit. As we said at the beginning, Brexit will make a lot of industries a lot more vulnerable. This is just one such industry. And for the fact that you've got no support from the government is typical because, for all their support for farmers during 2016, they're miraculously not there anymore. Same for the fishermen. Like I say, fishermen still having massive problems. It might not be in the news, it might not be in the news much anymore, but they're still having ongoing problems. Those haven't changed. So, yeah, this is just yet another continuing Brexit disaster. One which, again, if the government could solve, as we said, we've got all these, asylum seeker problems, then, well, why not solve the backlog by, well, giving them all work visas and putting them to work? you know, it seems to be a potential solution to this problem. I'm not sure 100% how, successfully that would work, but it seems to be a plausible solution. But then again, I'm not the Home Secretary, so I don't know. But there you go. Um, as always, like I say, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a off-donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.